Welcome, good to see you all. My name is Robin Spottiswoode. I am a blockchain engineer and a musician, and I'm also co-founder of Nifty Music, which is the startup that I'm working on. I also run Top of the Blocks, which is the only and therefore official music NFT chart. Top of the Blocks, search it on Twitter, follow it, and we do every week. I do a list of the top 10 music NFTs by volume of sales. Cheers, Mino. So what is Nifty Music? We guide artists from zero to sold out. We're kind of like a little bit like a blockchain record company, but also not a lot like a blockchain record company. We work with musicians, but we don't like sign a long-term deal over multiple releases. We focus on one release at a time. So we're much more providing the tools and expertise to help them succeed, rather than trying to pump them dry for all the money they're worth. Hopefully that's how they see us as well. A lot of people haven't invested in music NFTs before, which is understandable. They are very new. Just show your hand if you've bought a music NFT. Has anyone bought one before? Nice, Jesse, I like it. So they're essentially music. They're essentially NFTs, but they have music attached. Obviously, you'd expect that. So it's not what you'd expect, basically. Some people are like, oh, maybe musicians won't release their material on Spotify. Maybe I get early access. And yeah, maybe some musicians are doing that. But the reality is, all you're getting is a collectible, a blockchain entry, and via IPFS or via some kind of file storage, you also get a music file. You also often get artwork. So in the same way that you would get like an album cover, you will get a bit of art. But because it's on the blockchain, because it's an NFT, we've been experimenting with doing different traits. So like different layers on the image. Other collections have different layers in the music themselves. So like a different drum beat or some kind of generative deal. But that's all kind of secondary to the fact that you're getting this token, in some cases an access token. And because it's an access token, you can get access to Discord, you can get access to token-gated concerts, you can get access to anything. The artist can share their expertise with you. The artist can have an inner circle of collectors that they can draw on for inspiration, talk about their next release, talk about whatever. And that's actually one of the better traits or utilities of music NFT, having access to the artist. There have been models like Patreon and models like where you pay a monthly subscription and you get access to the artist, and you sometimes get early material. But it's not on the blockchain. It's difficult to track those people. You have a list of your patrons, but you don't have this kind of relationship with them. They're not investing in you in the same way. So the beauty of the blockchain is they've bought your NFT, and there's a possibility that that will rise in value. There's a possibility that that will give you access to the future events, and it's just a completely different relationship. And we've seen this quite a few times now. And this is the problem, right? The music landscape up until now has been based on selling your content for a fixed price. It used to be CDs, records. You would spend a long time recording, practicing, touring, sometimes months, years on a single release. And then you put it on Spotify and you stream it for $0.003 per stream, which for some people, for the top 1%, is a great deal. You can make a lot of money on that. But for others, for the large majority of musicians, that's not a career, that's not a good option. So it's a broken model. If you talk to any musician that isn't Lady Gaga, they will tell you that they're being ripped off, and I agree. Some people can make money from going on tour. Like, that's an option for some people as well. It's tiring and exhausting, and sometimes the pay is terrible, but some people can make it work. But it's a problem. Musicians are told they shouldn't be pursuing a career in music, which means fewer musicians, less music, and if you're like me and you love music, that's not a good place to be. So this is an artist called Violetta Zeroni. She's a very talented musician, and we've been working with her over the last 3 or 4 months now to release a collection of NFTs. And she is not part of the 1%. She is not a huge artist. She's got about 33,000 Instagram followers, similar on Twitter, and about 47K monthly Spotify listeners. So she's not huge. She's in the large music middle class. And we released 2,500 NFTs. She's now, as of this morning, like 92% sold out of her collection. She's got over 700 collectors. And it's been a shift. This is what's been working. This is why it's important, because up until now, during the pandemic, she wasn't able to play live, and that's the same for most musicians. So people started to think about other careers. Maybe music's not for me. Maybe I can't make this work. And even without the fact that you can't play live, if you're making like 500 euros a month from Spotify, you probably need another job. So that's why it's changing. And this is the number that I think illustrates why it's changing and why this is important. It's really hard to compare like an artist like Violetta to the music industry as a whole. But one data point you do have access to is the number of streams that an artist pulls in. And this is the number that we came up with for how much that Violetta has sold in music NFTs, how many streams she would have had to get on Spotify to make the same amount. So if you were to convert NFT sales into Spotify streams, Violetta would have made 83 million streams, which is big. For reference, Lady Gaga's Poker Face, as of today, has about 700 million. So it's not as much, but it's kind of in the same ballpark. And this was actually calculated a couple of weeks ago, so we're probably looking more like 100 million streams now. So suddenly you've got an average, like a well-performing musician, but by no means part of the 1%, is able to make the same kind of money as Lady Gaga's huge viral success, Poker Face, which is a game changer. And this is why we're trying to bring this to more musicians. This is why people, sensible musicians, are now thinking about the blockchain as a way of distributing their music, or as a way of like collecting collectors. And this is like any new industry. It's a massive spread of different companies, spread of different things going on. It's not been distilled down into the things that work, as illustrated by this really messy diagram made by Cooper Trooper. It's all over the place. But some things that are definitely working really well. Automatic split payments. So because of the blockchain, it's very easy to take the money coming in from NFT sales and split it automatically, transparently between your producer, your artist, yourself, your team. Whereas before you'd have to manually calculate all of that, get their bank details, send it out. If they have a wallet, now you can just put that all on the blockchain, do split payments automatically. It's a great use case. Secondary sale royalties. If you're selling on a marketplace and you're getting 10% secondary sales, that's a game changer, right? Like normally, if you sell a record, that's it. You've sold the record. Maybe it's a collectible. Maybe the person that collected it will go on 10 years later to sell it for 1,000% profit. But you don't see any of that, usually. With the blockchain, you can get 10% every time that's resold, and that's an ongoing income. So another reason for musicians to sell on the blockchain. And the thing that really matters is the last one. Fans can share in the artist's success. Like, yes, there's kind of this crazy prospecting with any NFT stuff. Some people buy NFTs to try and make 1,000% profit and get really disappointed. But you have access to the artist. If you're a real fan, there's a really compelling case to buy that artist's NFT. Imagine your favorite musician. It doesn't matter whether they were alive or they're dead, or they released music 40 years ago. Would you have bought their NFT? I know I would have. Like I would invest in a musician that I liked. I would buy their NFT, and if that went up in value, great. But fundamentally, I would have access to that artist. They would know that I'm a fan and I'm a member of a small community that have invested in them, and that means private concerts. That means early access to gig tickets. That means a lot of things. So this is like the future of NFTs. Obviously, I don't know what's going to happen, but this is what I've seen in the last year or so happening. We've got, like you saw on the previous slide, a lot of new platforms. Every week there seems to be another tranche of platforms coming in, and some of them are great, some of them not so great, but we'll see which ones last. Nifty Music, by the way, isn't a platform. We're trying very hard not to be a platform, which we are just supporting the individual artists, making sure that they have the best opportunities, but not trying to bring them all in and sell from our own platform. Does anyone remember LimeWire from about 20 years ago? Yeah, you thought they were dead, but they're back. Now with funding from Universal Music Group, I think, which is kind of ironic because they funded their downfall 20 years ago. They were very instrumental in bringing them down. So that's interesting. Spotify NFTs, another interesting one, because musicians famously don't get paid very much from Spotify, but maybe they will if Spotify are advertising their NFTs. Who knows? They're actually trialing this with a small group of musicians right now. So maybe in the next 5-10 years, we'll start seeing people buying NFTs from Spotify. And sadly, centralization, that's an inevitability when it comes to blockchain stuff in general, I think. Everyone thinks, we've got this amazing new technology where people are building things, let's make a platform to bring everyone to let's create a new Spotify on the blockchain. And that's not really what we're looking for here. We're looking for distributed, decentralized technologies, not the old system. Let's try and keep things decentralized, that's my opinion. And people often say about music NFTs, like, why would I buy a music NFT? I can just stream the music from Spotify. And it's the same thing as, right-click save a JPEG. Why would I buy an NFT if I can just save the JPEG to my hard drive? It's free. But it's not about distribution anymore. We've proven that distribution is not the business model here. You can easily access music, and that's the way it should be. If you're walking down a street in a market square and there's a busker, that's free. If you want to support that artist, if you want to become an owner of their NFT, if you want to be a part of the community, then you should own their NFT. You invest in the artist, you own their NFT, you don't pay for the streams. Spotify are doing that very well. That's fine. The other thing that we're seeing a lot of is profit sharing. Companies like Royal take the artists' Web2 royalties and divide them up and split them amongst their collectors. So if you buy a share or an NFT for your favorite artist and they then do 800 million streams on Spotify, you are entitled to a share of that. It's an interesting model, definitely, but as I've just said, royalties on Web2 are not significant. So you're kind of sharing a very small slice of a very small pie, which it's not for everyone. And like I said before, token-gated concert tickets. Imagine you have a holders-only concert. Violetta, who we showed earlier, does weekly Discord concerts to her NFT holders, and they love it. And that's a compelling reason to own the NFT. That's ongoing utility, and that allows Violetta to find out who are her real fans. Who is she playing to? They have conversations. They have Zoom calls. It's very intimate, which is a good thing. There's all kinds of things with staking and DeFi integration. I won't go too much into detail about that, but imagine having an ERC20 token, a currency tied to an artist. Imagine buying a big ticket with that artist's currency. That's another way of tracking what your fans are doing. You can even track whether they came to the concert. If you could look at your holders, a list of your holders, and see which concerts they attended, that's something that's definitely possible with the blockchain. And we're starting to see artist DAOs. It's like decentralized little startups that are run by an artist, and you sometimes have governance, you sometimes have, like I said, ERC20s that allow people to have this entire ecosystem with the artist at the center, which is a very interesting thing, and I think it ties in with the whole shifting of the music industry. Instead of having like these artists that are members of these huge record companies who control everything, marketing, spend, ad spend, all of that, you have artists in control of their own ecosystems, powered by the blockchain, and it's a seismic shift, I think. That's it. I was going to take some questions if anyone has some. You can contact me on Twitter, go to niftymusic.app, or scan one of these posters. There's a cool little QR code you can scan if you're into scanning. And yeah, does anyone have any questions? Anything's good? No stupid questions? Yes?
I told you I was going to ask that. Hi, can I have your take on which becomes, I think, increasingly popular, the royalty sharing? I've heard of artists selling a special edition of either an existing release, an album or EP, LP, whatever, selling it just this one particular edition, which they issue as a new, obviously, a new thing, and then they sell like 100% of the royalties, and you're able to actually own not the song, I mean you can always own the song, but own the royalties from this particular edition.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense until you look at how much that artist is actually making from royalties. If they are...
You mean pennies?
Yeah, they're making nothing, basically. So 10% of nothing is still nothing. Like
True.
It's an interesting model, and it works better on Web3, actually. If you're sharing NFT royalties, secondary sale royalties with your community, that's usually a lot more.
No, sorry, maybe I was imprecise. Yeah, selling NFT, Web3 royalties.
Right.
Through Web3 technologies, to be precise, yeah.
In which case, yes, yeah, that is a good idea. If you're doing a new release, you're doing a second album, the first one was tokenized, it's an NFT, you've got 1,000 holders, and then you sell $100,000 worth of the second album and split a percentage of that with the original holders, you're giving value back to the people that hold the original NFT, and it's incentivizing people to buy the second one as well. You're building a community by giving back to the community, and that's what utility is all about. That's a very good reason to buy an NFT. Great question. Does anyone have another one? No? Okay, well, thank you very much. Feel free to come up and ask questions afterwards, and see you around.